Hi, Julie Stern here. And one of the questions I often get asked by teachers, especially secondary teachers, is how does teaching for conceptual understanding, teaching for transfer of learning compatible with study skills? And I would say, obviously, completely compatible. So I'm going to share my screen, share a few visuals with you, and some considerations. So I have up here Cornell Note Taker is a wonderful strategy that meta-analyses have shown improves student learning. If we only teach study skills, absent of big ideas and organizing our learning, then we teach students that learning is about kind of cramming, drilling, memorization, so that you can sort of regurgitate or recall this information for the sake of an exam. And I would say that's not what we want to, that's not the message that most of us want to send to our students about what learning is. Learning is about organizing our ideas, our thinking into our long-term memory when we look for the most essential ideas and how those help to organize whatever field of study we're looking at. We are going to be able to retain more information. We're going to be able to figure things out, which is transfer when we're presented with a new situation. So if, for instance, we were to take just as a basic template of Cornell notes, usually the way this works is students kind of take notes on these details, on these lines during class while the teacher is presenting some information. We know that lecturing for many minutes has a negative impact on student learning. So I would say this is not conducive to simply lecturing to students for more than I would say a few minutes. But we could be presenting things to students and they are taking notes either through video or through text or through our speaking to them in short chunks. And students are writing down what they're looking for, kind of the details of what's happening. And then over here is where the key points and the summary is where we have the opportunity to help our students sort of zoom out. So I'm going to pop over to one of the key visuals that I love to use, this weeds and the clouds. To me, conceptual learning is a daily dance of zooming into the facts, the details, the specific skills we need students to learn, and then some occasional pauses every day of coming out to sort of grasp the bigger pictures of seeing the forest for the trees, if you will, to kind of combine those two metaphors. We want to zoom in, zoom out on a daily basis. And this Cornell Note Taker really allows you to do that. So I would say, for instance, these are some of my supporting teaching resources that I've used with my partner schools. For instance, I love this strategy from the Foundation for Critical Thinking of SEEI, State, Elaborate, Exemplify, Illustrate. That could all probably take place in these details. What are the details of the concept? What's the definition? Can I put it in my own words? Can I exemplify it? Can I illustrate it? That could all probably happen in the details. And then in the key points, just kind of coming back to this, there's where really, if you want to do, some Cornell note takers say what you should do in the key points is shortly after the instructional session or the study session, you design some questions. And I think that's a great opportunity for these question stems, these questions of conceptual relationship. So if they've got specific concepts and their definitions and some examples, some core examples of those, then they would want to perhaps ask themselves, how do these two or more concepts that we've written here in the details, how do they interact? That could be a question that they write there, and the answer could be in the key points as well of how those two concepts interact. And there's another strategy that I often advocate for teachers, which is simply asking students at the end of the lesson. An important idea to remember from today is pick two out of these four words. So this is a social studies example on communism and capitalism. I'm going to scroll to the bottom for this science example, or excuse me, this math example right here, functions, rate of change, equations, vertex. Use these in a sentence and summarize some key ideas from today. Could really go in this summary right here. So that's a great way to really harness the power of Cornell note-taking and conceptual learning and transfer in both of those, in that in the sort of key points and the summary, we're allowing students to sort of zoom out and say, the so what? What's the big idea that I want to carry with me? And the details provide the evidence for their learning. So they can't just Say for instance, capitalism is an important idea to remember today is capitalism is better than communism. Okay, the details need to say why. They need to say exactly why one might be better than the other, or whatever it is that students are writing in that summary. They need to defend it with powerful examples. And that should be being drawn from those details that they've written when they're studying. So overall, I would say that it's a dance, and teaching students that the big ideas, grasping the big ideas, is going to help them retain information. And they also need to learn how to study. That's also a skill that is going to help them, in addition to what are the big ideas, I also need to study. Both of those things hand in hand are going to accelerate learning. They're going to retain information longer and encode it in their long-term memory better, and be able to transfer that learning to new situations.